INVALSI again, participating in this and make this work in progress presentation about digital citizenship presentation in Chile and Italy. Putting focus in two parts of the story, or try in the first part, the gaps, try to understand inequalities. That is the first part. First part of the result that I want to show today. And the other part is how these digital media activities or digital citizenship participation is related with other type of participation, which is in both cases are huge question in the literature about, in the first step, the gaps, which are the gaps in terms of political voice. And the citizenship issue is a big issue today. And the other part is how this is related with the classical ways to participate, which is another huge question in the literature, in communication maybe, but in others. Just such a context, in terms of how we arrive as team in this topic. We are working in the political socialization, focusing on school activities, school characteristics, and family transmission, intergenerational transmission of political inequality from the last around 10 years with some people in a different projects. And we run this kind of program, RICE in Spanish. RICE program is called citizenship, and in that link you can find a lot of projects and papers in which we are involved in the last year. We have been involved. And in the last year, we earned a small grant, 3 years grant, which is NUDOS, Millennium Nucleus on Digital Inequalities and Opportunity, which was a very nice opportunity in order to put focus on this kind of digital issues, because in the first part we avoided this because it's a difficult part of the story, because in terms of quantitative approach is challenging, because the most part of service doesn't have good measures about these issues. Very difficult to measure in terms of service in young population as well as in adult population. And that way is difficult to understand and to follow that, but now we are working on that. Some words about what is digital citizenship. As usual in social science, the concepts are very complex because people start to using and change what is the meaning and how to measure it and so on. And I think it's very important to say something about this one. In the first step, there is a very good review about different concepts in different disciplines and how to conceptualize from different disciplines and how to measure from different disciplines this idea of what is digital citizenship. And there is at least 4 approaches in order to understand what is digital competences. That is one important issue. Easiest, for instance, is a way to understand in that kind of bullet points. Is more digital competence, more skills, information, how to manage that one, the use of digital how to practice with the technologies, attitudes toward this digital citizenship, and finally digital civic engagement, which is the focus that we are putting in here. We are using that concept because we are trying to understand how young population participate in terms of using the digital media with a goal of social and political issue. Okay, and here it's important to say as well this kind of the digital participation or digital civic engagement compared with the classic civic engagement concepts, because what is changed is the mean through we exert the participation. And this distinction is very common, online, offline, but now we are using digital versus analog in order to try to follow, because the translation is difficult. In Spanish, online, offline doesn't work pretty well. But digital versus analog works pretty well and traveling in a better way when we are using introducing that kind of concept. Because of that, we are proposing that one. But that's another part of this. About the focus of this presentation is twofold. In a first step, as I mentioned, the gaps, following this agenda, trying to understand how families transmit their advantages or disadvantages in socioeconomic terms to the next generation. This idea of intergenerational transmission of political inequalities. But we are using as well, or we are focusing on other gaps, for instance, gender gaps, because gender is a huge element in order to understand differences in the political arena. There is a lot of gender rights socialization literature to explain how, for instance, why girls or boys or women and men have different levels of knowledge, depends on the knowledge of what we are speaking, and in other issues as well. And we are asking about the difference in this specific topic. As I mentioned, in ISIT we are focusing the same, focusing in the level of competences and the level of self-efficacy about the technologies. It's very interesting results about that in terms of that kind. Because of that, we are trying to keep the gender as an important issue in the focus. And as well, school characteristics in terms of learning opportunities in a first term, and another kind of characteristics of the schools. And the second focus is how is related this analog type of participation, or this digital participation, with the analog type of participation. And ICCS have a huge opportunity in order to understand and try to evaluate this relation, because there is a lot of type of participation evaluated, and there is a very good scales in the survey. And in that way, we can evaluate this relation. This is the true focus that we are advancing on here. Just mention as a which literature and ideas, hypothetical ideas we are following here about the relation from digital to analog. We are using these two possible results. The facilitation idea, or facilitation hypothesis, in which the digital is a space where young people experiment and learn how to participate, and after that they go to the street, they go to voting, and so on. This is the hypothesis of facilitation. But there is another hypothesis, the selectivism hypothesis, which is unconsequential. The idea of, okay, we are clicking, we are liking, we are sharing information, but doesn't have consequences in order to put public space, in order to analog way to participate. That kind of, and there is evidence for both. There is some papers that show the selectivism, and there is some papers that show facilitation. That is interesting because there is no agree about what is the result and what is the role of digital spaces in order to develop the classical way to participate. For instance, voting, or depends on the type of participation when we are talking, will be the relation of that. That is the question that we are trying to evaluate in here. Just as a summary, the objectives are these: explore and map the level of digital citizenship in order to, using ICCS, the small number of items that we have in here. Examine the digital gaps in terms of gender, family educational level, and some school characteristics, mainly opportunities to learning. And finally, how is the relation between digital and analog digital citizenship? The data, just International Civic and Citizenship Study, ICCS 2016, which have 24 countries, but in this case we are focusing mainly in Chile, but in here we are using both samples, Chile and Italy, in order to make a small comparison between both. That is the description of sample, number of schools which participate in this. This is a natural representative samples, which is a very, very good opportunity and kind of luxury in terms of how difficult it is to obtain data in different countries. Everyone knows how difficult it is to obtain data. And this is the items of digital citizenship that are available in the ICCS 2016. There are 3 items, basically using internet to find information about political and social issues. That is the most important part of that, because it's not only find information, it's about specifically social and political issues. That is the meaning of and the context of that. Because of that, we are using the typical literature of political participation. Posting and comment or image regarding political and social issues on internet or social media, and sharing or commenting another personal online posting regarding political and social issues. That is a frequency scale. About the gaps variable we are using now for this, because as I mentioned, this is a work in progress. We are exploring another, and I use and put another things, but here I put the most important. This is the internet connection. Given we are speaking about digital issues, the having or don't having internet at home could be relevant in terms of the activities that we have. But let's see, student sex, given is an important variable which shows a lot of differences in different type of outcomes. Parents' education and books, which we are in here using as a cultural background. We are using just a dummy, university versus the other, and more than 100 books versus less than 100 books. About individual and socialization characteristics, political self-efficacy, interest in politics, and level of civic knowledge, which are in the literature very important predictors of participation. And we are trying to evaluate if it works in the same way in terms of social media activities or civic engagement, online engagement, or analog and digital participation. The frequency of conversation with family and with friends, as a comparison, this kind of conversation issues. And in terms of the school, perception of learning opportunity at school, and too much files. Learning and school climate, which are both important variables in terms of. And about the relation of the participation issue that we are using. The reported participation, which are available in the SECs, participation at schools, and participation in abroad community activities, like participation in groups, and intention to participate in elections, intention in political participation, like parties, campaign, and so on, intention to participate in legal activism, like marching or taxing or participating in a discussion, and intention to participate in illegal activism or in illegal activities, like taking a building, scratching walls, or making a barricade. These are intentions, and the others are reported. That is the distinction. Then we will relate digital participation with these 6 types of participation. In the first step, as a main description about the levels, and after that I will show the potential of the school and the relation of the gaps, and finally the relation with the other type of participation. About the levels, this is the distribution of the item, the frequency item for Chile and Italy is very similar. The most part of the student never use informs using social media in order to obtain information about social and political issues. In the Chile case is 52% never says never, and in the case of Italy is a little bit less than ever, given that the information, the Italian information, Italian population use a little bit more, around 8% of students says 1 degree of monthly, weekly, or daily. This is relevant because in the other is more similar. In the other, in posting and sharing information, is pretty similar about what happened. What we can see and what we can say in terms of a summary of this one, the information is more fluent than the other type of activities. That is the most important element we can say in here. This is the same result that Ellen have a very recent paper adopted, about this issue, and yeah, it's the same because it's the same data. This is only another distribution about this. What we can say about the potential of the school, this is not so well. What I will try to explain is very fast. Here in the line of ICC, the inter-class correlation is the composition of variance. We can observe in the first column the social media activities, and in that case we can observe that in Chile is 1% of distribution of between variance, and in the case of Italy is 6%. It's not too much in both cases, but in Italy it's a little bit more. The potential of the school in order to explain the social media activities. And it's very similar in the other cases, in the other type of participation, except in the participation in school, where in Italy is 22%, which is very, very high, but in the other is very, very low in all cases. But one important thing to say here in this comparison, that in the most part of type of participation, Italy have higher potential than Chile in terms of explaining the type of participation. And it's true as well in the case of digital media participation or social media participation, or and the analog is the same story. And maybe in the school participation, which is related maybe about political, the political definition of the school and how it's related and organized, which is very different than Chile, where the potential of the school is very low. Okay, I will try, because the tables are not so well defined, but I will try to understand this one, or show what happened about the social demographic, gender, education, books, and internet. What happened in the case of Chile, there is no difference in gender. That is the point. No difference in gender. In terms of social media, this is the first column. But this is not true in the other type of participation. For instance, there is different in school participation, there is some different in community participation, there is different in terms of political participation, but in negative, in legal activities participation. Gender is important for other types of participation, but not for social media. That is the comparison in this case. Education and books are important in both cases. For social media, for school participation, for lecture participation, which is very common in terms of evidence. And having internet at home is very important as well. A student that have internet at home, yeah, but in Italy it's not. That is the point. About social, the other activities, citizenship efficacy, self-efficacy, political interest, and knowledge are important, but knowledge have a negative effect. This is kind of a tricky, and Ellen in the paper showed and discussed a little bit about this. Why this kind of results? Why those students that have higher knowledge have lesser participation in social media, and have lesser participation in community activities, and have lesser participation in political activities? Why? We showed this in ICCS 2009 as well, and we have a kind of explanation, but after that, yeah, I think we need to go in deep in that specific issue. About the conversation between parents and students, the most important factor, both are relevant for social media, but the most important factor is conversation with friends in terms of social media participation. This is in terms of the list of variables, is the most relevant activity that, in order to explain social media involvement or digital participation. And about the civic learning and open classroom for discussion as well, both are important, but the effect is very, very low. It's smaller. The more relevant elements are that. And finally, about the Chile, about how is related social media participation with school participation and community participation is positive in both cases. In terms those students that participate in a higher frequency using social media for getting information about social issues, they participate more in the schools, they participate more in the community, and they have more intention to participate in electoral activities in the future. But it's not related with illegal activities, and it's not related with, in this case, electoral participation. Only for political, but mainly for school participation and community participation. It's related with the reported current participation, but not for the intention. That is the point in the main results. Okay, about data is almost the same. I go going fast to the next. In the comparison maybe. Okay, this is the comparison about data, which are the case of Chile and Italy. The most important factors in order to explain digital participation are conversation with friends, conversation with family, and political interest. These are more. Self-efficacy is important as well because it's significant and stable for all cases, but the effect is very low. And civic knowledge is negative, but the effect is very low. The most important factors in here, in order to understand digital activities, are political interest, conversation with family, conversation with friends. These are the main, and this is similar in both cases. Okay, just for closing the discussion about, as I mentioned, the information is more frequent than the other type of activities in here. More sharing is more frequent than sharing, and more frequent than commenting. Mainly is related with the age, because they are very young people, and the time of the sample, 2016. We show this kind of results in other conferences, and we speak about this. The twittering and the other kind of social media spreading start a little bit after the Arabic Spring and so on, in which social media is starting to have a higher and relevant role, starting a little bit later than this sample. Maybe if we observe this picture now, or in a different moment after that, we can observe a different story about this, about the posting and about the sharing. Italy have a higher potential to explain it in terms of school. The school have a higher potential to explain digital activities and the other type of motivation than Chile. Then in Chile is more familiar and more socialization issues in terms of the network, the closer network, not in the school. About the gaps, they are no different in sex, and this is true in both cases, but this is not true in terms of the other type of participation, which is interesting in the comparison, because, okay, in social media no, but in other types, yes. As expected, having access to internet is relevant in Chile, but is not relevant in Italy. In Italy, having internet doesn't have an effect. That is tricky, because, okay, we can expect that one. Education are mainly books at home, could explain, but disappear when we're using the phone mobile. Yeah, certificate civic knowledge. I say this one just for the last part, just in terms of, ignore the time. The frequency of using digital media or these digital activities is related with participation in school and community, which is important, but it's unrelated with other type of participation. In here we are using this kind of two different hypotheses. For some kind of participation, function as a practice, and for other type of participation as a facilitation, and for other type function as a activism because it's unconsequential, mainly for electoral participation. Yeah, that's the next step that I'm using. Yeah. Going deep in Chile, in the Chilean case, I'm trying to make the comparison between 2009 and 2016. Or even see it if we're using only the information item. We can do it something like that. Thank you very much.